Welcome along, fellow time travelers. This time around, we're going to check out the second floor of the Breakers in Newport, Rhode Island. Before I begin, please like and share the show and subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Now let's begin our journey. Now before you watch this show, you might want to check out the previous one, which is my tour of the ground floor of the Breakers. It kind of sort of ends where this one begins. I did show the veranda, which you will also see in this show, including some photos that I took while there. As you may know, the Vanderbilt family's Gilded Age mansion in Newport, Rhode Island housed private family quarters. Accessible via the grand staircase as well as the one we just ascended, it features many of the opulent bedrooms, including that of Mr. and Mrs. Vanderbilt, as well as a couple of their daughters and even a guest room. So let's go check them out. This was the bedroom of Gladys Moore Vanderbilt. She was born on August 27th of 1886, and she was the youngest daughter of Cornelius and Alice. On January 27th of 1908, she married a Hungarian count, and as a result, she became a countess. This marriage made her a prominent figure in both American and European aristocratic circles. After her marriage, she primarily lived in Hungary with her husband, where they raised their 5 daughters in a Budapest palace, as well as other family estates. After her mother, Alice, died in 1934, Gladys inherited the Breakers, and she continued to visit and maintain the estate, and in 1948, she leased it to the Preservation Society of Newport County for $1 per year to ensure its preservation as a historic site. This act was pivotal in transforming the Breakers into a public museum, allowing visitors like me and you to experience the opulence of the Gilded Age. Adjacent to her bedroom, Gladys's bathroom was luxurious yet functional, featuring white marble walls and flooring, a deep porcelain bathtub, and nickel-plated fixtures. The design prioritized hygiene, a status symbol in the Gilded Age, and provided privacy aligning with the era's norm of separate facilities for family members. The bathroom's clean lines and bright ambiance complemented the bathroom's aesthetic, offering a serene space for daily rituals, distinct from the mansion's opulent public areas. We now enter the bedroom of Cornelius Vanderbilt II. As you can see, it was a private, masculine retreat that reflected his status as the Vanderbilt patriarch. Designed by Richard Morris Hunt, it features intricate oak paneling, a carved wooden ceiling, and a massive stone fireplace, creating a stately ambiance. Furnishings included a large heavy bed with dark wood, plush drapes, and upholstered chairs in muted tones, blending comfort with opulence. Separate bedrooms for husbands and wives were common among the elite during the Gilded Age, emphasizing privacy, social propriety, and individual space within sprawling estates. Cornelius Vanderbilt II's dressing room and his bathroom exemplify Gilded Age opulence. The dressing room featured elegant woodwork and long hangers for his extensive wardrobe, ensuring privacy and functionality with assistance from male servants. Now check out this bathroom. It boasted a 3,000-pound marble bathtub, carved like a Roman sarcophagus, with faucets for fresh and salt water, reflecting luxury and therapeutic trends. And you see that thing over there? Well, that's... oh geez, I don't want to say. Let's just say after he was out riding his horses for a long time, he would make use of that thing. Kind of like a bidet, I guess? I don't know. Maybe not. Sort of a soaking tub, alright? Let's leave it at that. And of course you can see the beautiful marble and large mirrors that enhance the regal aesthetic of this bathroom. We then enter Mrs. Vanderbilt's bedroom. Alice Claypole Gwynne Vanderbilt's bedroom was an oval-shaped sanctuary reflecting her status and refined taste. As you can see, it featured delicate pastel silk wall coverings, ornate plasterwork, and a high ceiling with subtle accents. The room's centerpiece was a large bed with embroidered fabrics complemented by elegant furniture like a carved vanity and upholstered chairs. Her large closet accommodated her extensive wardrobe, reflecting the Gilded Age custom of frequent outfit changes for social events. The oval design, which is the same as the music room directly below, created a soft, intimate atmosphere contrasting with the mansion's grand public spaces. As previously mentioned, separate bedrooms for husbands and wives were standard among the elite, ensuring privacy and adhering to social norms of the era, allowing Alice to manage household affairs and entertain guests independently. And exiting the bedroom, we get a wonderful view of the Great Hall below. And then I turned right and went into this space. In Gilded Age mansions, many spaces were often designed for versatility. So you've got this one that served probably as a dressing area and private sitting room, and could even be a secondary bedroom for children, guests, or staff. Given its proximity to Alice's oval bedroom, it was probably used as an additional dressing room for her, supplementing her primary dressing area. Or for Gertrude, whose social role as a young woman required extensive wardrobe management. The room's modest size supports this practical, private use, aligning with the era's emphasis on separate spaces for grooming and preparation. This is Gertrude's bathroom. As you can see, it was luxurious yet practical, featuring white marble walls and flooring for a clean, airy feel. A deep porcelain bathtub, likely with nickel-plated fixtures, catered to the era's emphasis on hygiene as a status symbol. A single sink and small mirror suited her needs with minimal ornamentation. I then entered Miss Gertrude Vanderbilt's bedroom. She was born on January 9th of 1875 in New York City. As you can see, her bedroom was decorated with pink floral wallpaper. This room, noted for its artistic aesthetic, reflected her creative personality. In 1896, she married Harry Payne Whitney, a wealthy sportsman and financier, in a match approved by her parents, unlike some other Vanderbilt marriages. Gertrude was a celebrated sculptor, an art patron, and a philanthropist best known for founding the Whitney Museum of American Art in New York City. Unlike many of her contemporaries, she pursued a serious career in sculpture, studying under notable artists and establishing a studio in Greenwich Village. We now enter a space that's kind of hard to pronounce. Some people say loggia, some people say loggia, some people say logia or loggia. You know what I say? I say veranda. I say arcade. I say colonnade. I keep things simple. I'm not looking to be snooty. Let's just call it the veranda. That's a great word. What's wrong with the word veranda? Now, I showed you this in the previous video, and as you can see, it is a beautiful open-air gallery that functioned as an informal living space for the Vanderbilt family. Facing east toward the Atlantic Ocean, it offers stunning views and cooling sea breezes during summer. Its glass doors, opening to the Great Hall, could be left ajar to create a breezeway, enhancing ventilation. The walls, painted to resemble marble, exuded elegance, while the ceiling features a mural depicting 3 canopies against a sky, adding a whimsical open-air illusion. Once upon a time, it was furnished with wicker seating and tables, and provided a relaxed contrast to the mansion's opulent interiors, and it was ideal for family gatherings or quiet retreats. In the Gilded Age, such verandas were common in grand estates, offering a semi-outdoor space for leisure, reflecting the Vanderbilt's wealth and appreciation for European-inspired architecture. And going through to the other side and turning right, we enter the guest bedroom, which reflected Gilded Age elegance. Its neoclassical aesthetic shines through intricate woodwork with original wall paneling that remains untouched, preserving its historical authenticity. The room features ornate furniture, including a carved wooden bed with silk upholstery, delicate chairs, and a marble-top vanity, paired with elegant light fixtures like crystal sconces. The room retains its opulent cream color scheme, evoking French aristocratic taste. And now we pass through the bathroom that was for the exclusive use of the guest that was staying in that bedroom. And here we see the grand staircase, which exudes Gilded Age opulence. Ascending with red carpeted marble steps and ornate wrought iron railings, it leads up to the second floor landing. A large tapestry depicting a historical scene dominates the wall, framed by intricate carvings with cherubs above. Below is a beautiful portrait of Mrs. Vanderbilt. Flanking the space are fluted marble columns, classical statues, and decorative urns with gold cherub motifs. Wall sconces and chandeliers cast a warm glow, while a stained glass skylight with floral patterns illuminates the intricate plasterwork ceiling. The second floor of the Breakers, with its opulent bedrooms for Cornelius, Alice, Gertrude, and Gladys Vanderbilt, reflects the Gilded Age grandeur of the Vanderbilt family's summer life. These private retreats were adorned with silk, marble, and intricate woodwork. Now, the Vanderbilt family had 7 children. Alice Louise, who was born in 1870, William Kissam II, born in 1878, Cornelius III, born in 1873, Gertrude, born in 1875, Alfred, born in 1877, Reginald, born in 1880, and Gladys, born in 1886. It can be assumed that their oldest daughter, when there, likely stayed in one of the guest rooms. And so while the second floor accommodated bedrooms for the parents and their daughters Gertrude and Gladys, and maybe even Alice, the sons William, Alfred, Reginald, and Cornelius III had bedrooms on the 3rd floor, in their own wings, separate from the staff. The upper arcade fostered family gatherings amidst ocean breezes. The Vanderbilt's wealth enabled lavish socializing, philanthropy, and artistic pursuits, leaving a legacy preserved by the Preservation Society, inviting visitors to experience their historical elegance. So, what do you think of the second floor of the Breakers? If you were rolling in dough, would you live in any bedrooms like that? I'm kinda thinking maybe I would. Well, I mean, Mr. Vanderbilt's. Yeah, and that bathroom. Can't go wrong with a bathroom like that. I mean, who wouldn't want to take a bath in that incredible bathtub, right? You know I would. Which bedroom was your favorite? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Kindly remember to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Please check out the links below to learn how to support my research and productions. Kindly be kind to all of our fellow Earthlings, and please do not harm them. And do yourself a favor and go to a local shelter and adopt a cat or a dog or both. You and they will be very glad that you did. Until next time, I wish you safe travels on all your journeys.